that'll be, did you have nothing you needed to submit? Okay. All right.
You've already got it. We've got everything.
Right. So, Mr. Franklin, you wanted to do 221-23 Harold Place. I know we're over, Michelle, but there's nobody else here, so.
That's why I turned off the clock.
Okay, great, thank you. So let me just read this in, and we'll see what we can do. It's 221-223 Harold Place. This is a commercial building. Okay, so we have a current tentative assessment of $565,000. 565,000 with a land value of 27,000, and that would equate to a market value of 875,969. Petitioner believes the fair market value is $317,830, and that would be an equatable assessed value of $205,000 assessed value. Okay, so what's the situation on this one here?
Okay, well, before I get started with that, I'd like to just take care of some previous, business. Obviously, this past hearing was much better than the last time. It got a little contentious last time, and I just want you to know that this, basically, my nature is quite literal, and so I just respond literally to things. And that's what it is that I did. I didn't mean anything personal to anybody.
Sure.
But there were also some things that were said about me in that hearing that were pretty unprofessional. I was told that I don't know what I'm doing, which is a professional slander. It's pretty inappropriate. And I know things got heated and people can say things that they perhaps don't mean, or maybe they actually did mean, but, I saw your videos, and the system is really good, and I really think that's fantastic. It's a major improvement over what we saw in the past. It helps everybody be accountable as to what's going on. But I am continuing to record this hearing, and the reason I'm doing that, well, my recording won't be anywhere near as good as what it is that you generated.
And I thought about that. You know what? I don't really care.
Well, the thing is,
It's illegal to record
Without somebody
without
knowing.
everybody knowing.
Right. So
that's not
he's-
true. It's not true.
Well, it doesn't, we don't,
New York is a single-party state. Part of the reason
All right,
I'm doing
but-
it is to educate people.
but-
It's a single-party state, number one.
yeah, but
And-
you
and
did
to-
let us know, all
No,
right?
I don't need to let you know.
But the point is,
And we don't want to get contentious again.
Yeah.
But you had a lot of people coming in here, old people, who are being recorded by this stuff, and they don't know the ramifications of that, and you didn't disclose that to them. And you're worried about me disclosing it to you? It's a double standard, don't you think? So, so I think everybody that comes in here, especially the old people, you need to disclose what's going on here, because it's.
well, that
It is a
we'll
public space.
check, and if that's
It is a
something
public
that.
space. They have no expectation of privacy.
Yep.
But neither do you. This is a public space. So I called the New York State Committee on Open Government on this, and I spoke to an attorney there, and they said, absolutely, I have the right to record this hearing. And it's Kristen Smith, if you want to talk to her about it. Absolutely.
We,
So
we won't debate it.
It's
and
an open meeting law.
Again, because this is recorded anyways.
It's also,
have at it.
it's also,
I don't
it's
care.
also a First Amendment right for me to do so. I have the right to record public officials in the course of their duties in public spaces. This is a public space. He made a comment, and he made a comment that I can't record people. New York is a one-party state. Ask Bernie Fine about that. He knows all about it. It's a one-party state.
Just
He
try not
went to
to-
school in Illinois. That's a two-party state, and in Illinois, parts of that were stricken down. This is a one-party state. I have the absolute right to record this hearing, or as long as I know it's being recorded. So I do it for educational purposes. I'm not doing it to be confrontational. And in fact, since you told me not to do it, I'll turn it off right now, because it's not as good as what it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
But I have the right to do
No
it.
problem.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, sorry to beat that to death, but it's important, it's, I'm standing, I do this to protect homeowners from bureaucratic abuse. That's why I am here. I was accused of doing all these things for financial reasons. I don't do them for financial reasons. I do it as a public service to protect the public. When they're being ignored, they're not being provided data that should be provided. And I would ask the bar to we're having a legal debate whether or not the assessor has to give me this data. We'll get to the bottom of that. But I would think, legal or not, it would be just good customer service, don't you think? Just good customer service. So anyway, let's get onto this property. And again, I don't mean to be,
No problem.
Ed, no hard feelings. Okay. You just got me riled up a little bit.
No problem.
All right.
All right,
So this particular property, so apparently you had your thing limit was up for 10 years, correct? And so all of a sudden they just jumped this thing from what, 297 to 875.
Oh,
Wait,
no,
now,
to
is
say-
this
to
an
say-
exemption or
I think it still no, it's still under the 485A, but no, to save you some time possibly. No, this was a handshake freeze with an unfinished, again, the unfinished rearing its head, that was to come off when the first floor tenant space was occupied, which,
Yeah.
if
Well,
we want
I
me
just
to be
mentioned it
candid,
might be an
is
issue.
odd, but that was the agreement.
It might be
so-
an issue that you take into consideration. That I'm just assuming, with such a large increase, there had to be a reason for it. Basically, we provided you with the income and expense data. And what does the assessor use for a cap rate on income valuation?
Oh, we don't share our cap rates, customer service or not.
You won't share your cap rates? Okay. Well, I don't know. Other cities like Ithaca, for example, uses 10%. So if you don't-
Ours is a large city where I think cap rates could really run the gamut over 25 square miles.
Well, in this particular classification. Anyway, income, I would say on this property, it would be hard to compare it to other properties. Because how many properties have 4 rental units and a tattoo shop in the bottom, So,
that's what we have here?
yes.
Okay, so there's.
Yeah, so it's right down from the
commercial space.
Dinosaur, when you go to the Dinosaur
Yes.
and you go down Franklin, it's right at Harold and Franklin, right past the Dinosaur. So,
Yes.
so none of the tenants have any parking rights, they have to pay that separately. So
Okay.
there's no parking for the building. He provided your income and expense data.
Which I have.
And if there's something you need to verify, we'd be happy to do whatever it is you need to verify that. He renovated the place, but frankly, it's a lot of sheetrock and just kind of regular plastic windows. The kitchens are pretty low grade Home Depot. I provided you some pictures of that. Unfortunately, my camera screwed up. But it's really pretty basic stuff.
There's a lot of information in here, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it just seems that figure is extreme. I would be interested to know, where they, how such a large, we're talking about $575,000 increase. It's significant.
All right, so if I could go, what happened?
This one, I'll take ownership of this. This one's mine. I sought to increase this 3 years ago and was told there was a handshake deal with the property owner. It would carry an unfinished assessment and a low assessment until he filled the commercial space. How they came to that understanding, I don't know. There was no stipulation in writing. Nevertheless, I abided by it, and I was heartened to see a tenant this year, commercial tenant, so did raise it using a sales comparison approach and an income cap based on market rents. And what's been provided in the grievance fall below any market rents that we'd have used for residential 2-bedroom apartments. $1,500 for the storefront seems straightforward. We did, in the course of our research, find a listing. In the interest of fact finding, we've got a big discrepancy here between the stated NOI in the grievance, which is $46,452, and the NOI stated in the publicly available listing, which is $63,260, almost exactly 17 grand higher, which that 63
I see
number.
where you've noted that.
Yeah, that 63 number would support a full market significantly above what we put on it, but ours is bracketed by sales. These sorts of small, often benefiting from a 485A properties downtown do carry mid 100 unit values when they sell. Those, admittedly, assuming these really are the contract rents, those are often buttressed by higher rents than we're seeing here in the apartments. So that comes as a surprise to me. Anybody who's in the market for a two-bedroom who could find this would feel like he or she hit the lottery, I think.
Okay.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, these are very low two-bedroom rents. This would be a windfall for anybody.
Part of it
who would-
is that it's two bedroom, but to get to the bedrooms, you have to walk up these stairs. And I know
Yeah, they're
I know I
townhouse
wouldn't do
style,
that.
right?
I know I wouldn't. It's a.
Each one is a duplex within the building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
Oh,
second.
okay, so it's a first and second floor.
Second,
There's no
third,
bedrooms
but
on- There's no
yeah.
bedroom. There's no bedrooms on the main level. And it's also
Right.
the ceilings are pretty high, the stairs are insane.
Kind of a, a modified loft style, I guess you'd call
You'd
it.
want to have somebody pretty young to be in there. But, young people do like to be downtown, and you can walk to the dinosaur. But again, there's no parking. And, as far as a real estate listing, this is exactly why I want to get the assessor's data, not the realtor's data, because they lie like a rug. I mean, I looked at the same listing. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
I'll
I don't
take it
know-
with some
but-
grains of salt
but-
myself.
But being a real estate broker, Joe, you know the way some of these people are. Well, especially when you have an income property and you have income coming in, you don't care if it's selling or not. So you put some ridiculous price on it, thinking somebody from New Jersey, some idiot's New Jersey or California is gonna buy it, which could possibly happen. It does happen. That one there down in Salina Street is crazy. That building down there, they paid for that thing. That does happen, and so that's why they do it.
does.
But it doesn't have anything to do with reality. So
So we
I
take
don't
it
think
into
it's relevant.
consideration,
But the bottom line is, it's an income. I don't think the comparables, I mean, there's just too many variables to come up with to really come up with a comparable for it. But again, the construction grade, and if anybody wants to get in it, they're welcome to get in it. But it's just basic sheetrock. It's a historic shell, but the interior is just basic sheetrock and basic kitchen, basic baths. It's extremely. This is not a luxury accommodations. They're good. They're nice, but it's not. It's not ornate historic stuff.
laminate countertops and.
And don't get me wrong, this is a price point and a type of housing that we need all over the community, but certainly downtown. So we are not looking to interpret this harshly and hammer this gentleman
Yeah, I think that.
for renting below market.
I mean, you probably had a reasonable deal for a while, but going 875 is a little over the top, I think.
All right,
It's quite a bit over the top, actually, so. So we can go ahead, I think that's all I have to say about that.
Okay,
Let me just take what you want, if there's
Yep.
anything else.
yep,
But,
anything you want to add there, sure.
okay, so you got the income expense data. The parking issue. But according to the guy that does the maintenance, when they do lose a tenant, they don't get them snapped right up right away. He says it can take a couple of months.
Sure, to find good people, absolutely. You don't want to just put anybody in there.
Yeah. So.
All right, so let's move on to 3019 Erie Boulevard East Rear. The city submitted some general property information. So this, okay, this is the former, this is number 21 on our list. This is the former Tilted Kilt restaurant. We have a current tentative assessment of $1,290,600 with a land value of $138,500. That would equate to a market value of $2,930. Petitioner believes the fair market value is $1,200,000, and that would equate to an assessed value of $774,000. Okay. Okay, is this still vacant?
It is.
It's still vacant. I remember from last year, we had a discussion, it was changing hands from the fathers to the sons or something. All right, so that took place. They weren't sure how they were gonna use the building. And so So they're obviously still trying to lease it,
Yeah.
and what are they trying to lease it as, or just a little background in between last year and this year?
I think they're obviously gonna try to have it be a restaurant, because
Yeah.
as we established last year, it's a restaurant.
Yeah.
You just gotta find somebody who's running, if you notice, the Red Lobster just went out of business right out front. So,
Okay. No, I did not notice that.
oh yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, and then I think Stones went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a tough
And,
business.
and, you know, in this class, correct me if I'm wrong, there's only been 3 sales in the past, 2 years. And 2 of them were bought by Vaughn Lang, who's the president of the Board of Realtors. Okay, the third one is the Corral, but that's it.
He's the legal counsel of the Board of Realtors.
He is the legal
Lenore
counsel.
Fetco is the president.
Oh, I thought I said he was a lawyer. But anyway, so, so basically you have 1 sale, and that's the Golden Corral. And my guess is that the value in the Golden Corral was, a lot of it had to do with the business, not so much the, the building itself. But I was rather upset about what transpired last year, frankly. I had an appraisal by a New York State certified New York State commercial real estate appraiser, who's actually been to the property. And nobody here, I don't think, has been to the property in 5 or 6 years. And
I was there when it was up and running. I
Yeah.
can tell you that.
and we're welcome to have anybody come in the building that they want.
All right.
But I want to say, a professional appraisal report is, in and of itself, sufficient to overcome any presumption regarding the validity of the assessment. Eckerd Corp versus Seaman. I just don't know why you guys would ignore. Are you suggesting that the assessment was fraudulent? If you think
No,
if you
Mike.
think the appraisal is fraudulent, you should file a complaint with the New York State Department of State Licensing Services.
No, okay. No, you have reason to feel slighted last year. Circumstances with our office situation led to our receiving an appraisal and nobody laying eyes on it,
Yeah.
which is not an acceptable
Well, it was
circumstance,
very
and nobody's
helter
going to.
skelter last
Yeah.
year with the office space. But anyway, do we have that? Do we have, or can we get that appraisal?
It's part of the email. with him.
I've read it.
you've got-
And
okay,
you know,
all right.
part of what transpired last year is perhaps why I came in a little hot yesterday, because I was, I talked to your legal department, everybody gave me the runaround and they sandbagged me, and I was pretty angry. And unfortunately, my client wasn't prepared to go to Supreme Court on this. It would have been a slam dunk. And it's just.
Well, we
you know,
want to try to.
It's bad customer service, and he acknowledged there was a problem, and I accept that. But it's just, that's part of the issue that I've had here, is customer service issue. And so, I don't get into what my credentials are, because it's not relevant, it's, the facts are what's relevant. But I do, want to respond to something that was said about me. I have participated in assessment matters in 20 counties so far, dozens of assessors. Most of you have only had to do with 2 assessors. You only know 2 assessors. I know dozens of them, and I know what a good assessor is and what a bad assessor is. And as he mentioned, I was a SCAR hearing officer for 4 years in 6 counties. So just when you think you've seen it all, you ain't seen nothing when it comes to money. People are funny, but I've seen a wide variety of assessors and how they operate, and the disdain that they have for the public, the complete lack of, they think they can do whatever, they don't want to be accountable or transparent. And some of these boards of assessment reviews, in fact, 90% of them, they check a box as insufficient information, and they provide no written explanation. It's a complete lack of transparency. So, but after all that experience, I'll tell you what a good assessor is. When you have 41,000 properties, you have to do mass assessment techniques. There's no other way to do it. But when a taxpayer calls a situation to your attention, it's your job to look into it in good faith. And if you agree with them, make an adjustment. If you disagree, you politely point them to their appeal options. It doesn't need to get contentious, but it seems to get contentious all the time. So that's why I was upset coming in from last year, because to me, it was an absolute outrage. What was done to these people for the past, they've been out of business since 2017. They've had 0 income since 2017. And they are assessed for $2.1 million fair market value. That's $500,000 more than the dinosaur. It's 3 times that of Coleman's. I forget what it is relative to Tully's, which is a major ongoing business. How could you do that to these people? It's just an outrage. But you've got the picture. So you have the appraisal. And what I did is I took your numbers. So it's last year's appraisal. We didn't update it, but nothing has changed. It doesn't need to be updated. So what I did is I applied what the appraisal said last year, what your increase was, to make it come out to this year. And that's what I'm asking for. And I frankly don't think it should be a penny off of what it is that I asked for, because it's a licensed, certified appraiser. He went to the property, he analyzed it, he did it in good faith. I've never met the guy in my life. I called everywhere to get somebody to do an appraisal. He was the only one I could get to do it in time, and he did it, and it was completely arm's length. And I wouldn't, I wanted to hire a name brand appraiser, so you guys, whatever the figure comes out, so that you would respect it. And I did the best I could to get you a proper appraisal. I had absolutely no influence over that appraisal, none.
Okay.
So, and I never
And
will.
you have a copy of that.
We do. I was gratified to read it, and I recognize I'm stepping in it here. But it's our concern that that is stale now, not because of the time elapsed, but because we suspect there's a lease in place on the property, given that on the KPOT's website, it says coming soon, and given on the top of 3019 Erie Rear, there's a big sign that says
Right, but
KPOT
the
coming
valuation
soon.
date is January 1st. There was nothing in place.
There,
And when,
I don't
and when
know.
they-
That's what we'd like to know. There's been a banner on the building for, since October, I want to say.
So is there a lease in place? What's happening?
They told me they have not received $1.
Right,
And if it does open, when it is generating income, then at the end of the year, we'll know what the income is, but we don't know it now because it isn't open. And what I'm told is it probably won't be open until maybe August, if it is open,
Okay, do they
which would
have-
still be a negative income valuation.
Right. Do they, I'm asking you, is there a lease in place?
I don't know if there is a lease in place. It's possible. I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
But what they told me is it might get open in August. That's what their goal is.
And what is it?
I don't know what it is. It's some sort of restaurant.
KPOT, it's a nationwide Korean chain. I'm excited to go there when they open.
And back to the the original argument is, it's not on the boulevard. It's way the hell back. So if you try to go to this place, twice I've gone there,
know it's there.
and you end up in somebody else's parking lot. And if you go past it, then you have to go all the way around the block. It is a very
That's point well taken.
So that in other words, they didn't close because of COVID. They closed before COVID, so it never made it in the first place. And then COVID kept it from coming back open. And it's.
What do you got?
Yeah, he's already mentioned a couple of sales that I have here. First one, Golden Corral. It's sold for $362 per square foot. The subject is currently assessed for $226,999. He mentioned the
Wait, I didn't understand that. What did you just say? What's assessed for 220,000?
the assessed value per square foot. We're looking at it. It's currently assessed at an assessed value of $226.99 per square foot. Okay,
That's tilted kilt.
That is the tilted kilt that we are referring to at whatever it's going to become.
Okay.
There is the Red Lobster on Erie Boulevard, which Mike just mentioned has been closed down. That sold in 2019 for $460 a square foot. There's the Golden Corral. That sold for $362 a square foot. The Distillery used to be the old Outback. Hidden away, you can't get to it unless you go through the gas station parking lot. I can throw a stone to it. That's currently assessed at $303 $8.85 per square foot.
What year?
That happened, it just closed. It just closed 10/20 of '22. Good count. Could throw a stone to it from here.
What's the valuation date?
What's the valuation
What do
date?
you consider the valuation date?
In Syracuse? January 1st?
Right.
So your valuation date and your taxable status date are the same? That's weird.
Well,
Go ahead.
we're different.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, here's another one at 3180 Erie Boulevard's Tokyo Soul Restaurant. That sold back in 2019 for $256,000 per square foot. I'm going to just say I have not seen the appraisal. I did not know there was an appraisal on it. I valued this property. I'm the appraiser who went out and measured the building as it was being built. I'm the person that put the current assessed value on it. I used the cost approach. I have Marshall and Swift information. And again, I've been doing this an awful long time. They paid $250 just for the lot. There's a billboard on that location. I don't know whether or not it's the intention of the owner to help advertise, because if you're getting off on Thompson Road and you see whatever the name of that restaurant, that certainly could be right there. And they certainly could say, after you're right onto Erie Boulevard, turn into the third parking lot on the right, and you will be there. It is adjacent to a hotel. The hotel does not have a restaurant in it. I suspect that the hotel and the Tilted Kilt were in cahoots at one point in time, but I can't prove it.
Okay.
There's another sale of, this is again 30, I already read 3019 Erie Boulevard, I think. It sold for,
Well, 3019 is the subject property.
I'm sorry, no, that's not the address of subject property is 3019?
Yeah. Erie Boulevard East.
Okay. Well, Ruby Tuesdays sold for, and this is a lower sale price, it was 2018, it sold for $132,600. You know, I think that the assessment on the property is fair.
It's the third highest assessed restaurant in the city of Syracuse. And it hasn't been in business since 2017. Are you kidding me?
All right, well, we'll take those comps that you have.
Yep.
Ed.
Mr. Fool
How many
tends
of those,
to
how many of those were vacant at the time?
relay information other than that which is exculpatory. He looks for things that
Vacant.
meet his agenda, but he ignores things that do not.
Those
Well, that's
restaurants
why-
were vacant at the time?
That's why we'll take.
That's why you take a look at it.
Yeah.
You take a look that the comps, many of them are pre-COVID comps.
Vacant.
Take that in consideration. So essentially, he has one sale.
Vacant.
Since, and also take into consideration,
Vacant.
this property had been on the market for sale. If that was the case, they would have taken the money and run a long time ago, because they
The
attempted to sell.
distillery was
They had it
still in
listed-
business
They
when
had
they-
it
when they
listed
went
with
under
Pyramid.
contract.
They had it listed with, like, two others. They had it on LoopNet and CoStar, and they had it on 10X. They did all those things, and they couldn't sell the thing. And part of it is probably because it's not on Erie Boulevard. It doesn't have the foot traffic. And he's applying all these costs per square foot. Well, why doesn't he apply that cost per square foot to the Blarney Stone, or to the Colemans, or to the Dinosaur? You know, if you're gonna apply those square footage, apply them across the board. Your turn is passed. Apply it across the board. Don't pick your places where you choose it. They tried to sell it for 6 years and they couldn't sell it. We had an appraisal last year. As of your taxable status date, that property was not a restaurant. So if you're gonna stick to the taxable status date, stick to the taxable status date. Don't say what it's gonna be down in August.
We aren't gonna go back and forth with the mudslinging.
At the end
But
of this year, we will give you the income and expense.
not relevant for this past year or last year, but you know, restaurants on the boulevard, large format restaurants, chains usually get compared to chains. Blarney, Dinosaur, these are all properties that
Dinosaur
deserve
is a chain.
locational.
New York City, they got 'em in Oakland.
Yeah,
got 'em in Rochester, Buffalo.
locational, functional utility adjustments are made among these different properties. Whereas a Tilted Kilt and a Ruby Tuesday,
Is that the only reason that those aren't adjusted? Other than the fact that they're related to the mayor, nothing like that?
Erie Boulevard is a major thoroughfare.
I think it's safe to say that
through the
we-
city of Syracuse.
4
And
times
those
higher.
cells are all along the Erie Boulevard are in very close proximity.
All
Could
right.
you get us a copy of that lease?
A copy of the list. Can I get you a copy of the list? I can ask you for that, yeah.
That would be great if you could.
But again, I don't see it's relevant because the taxable status date is January 1st.
Well, if the lease
It
was
would-
signed prior to that, it would be relevant, wouldn't it?
You should worry about that lease next January 1st.
Well, it would be,
Affects the value of the
yeah,
property.
it would be
when
good
it was
faith
signed.
if they
Well, you know,
could
it just,
supply that.
you're being selective about how you approach these things. That's what they're doing. You need to be uniform about all these things. You just can't select things that meet your agenda.
No, we're not. We always,
No agenda.
we would ask anybody for a copy of that lease if there is a lease in place.
The lease is subsequent to your taxable status date.
Understood.
We'll know
It's
that
not
when we
relevant.
see it. I mean, we don't know that. That's why I'm asking for a copy of it.
Well, we
so
don't
can
even
see
know that
what
one
it's signed.
exists.
All right, well, if you could check with the owner, see if one exists,
Well, I'll ask them if they'd like to
So-
provide it. If they do, then we'll give it to you.
that would
Okay.
be excellent. Let me do one other, are we done with this one here?
I just need to be perfectly clear.
Okay.
The taxable status date is January 1st.
So we are supposed to.
So on the previous property, on Harold Place, you wanted to use the taxable status date, or you didn't want to use the tax, but
We
now
still
you do.
We still do,
But now you do.
We are valuing that Tilted Kill property as of January 1st.
So why do you need the lease?
Well, it would
At
just.
the end of the lease, when they've had the income, when they have the expense, then they'll know what the income and expense is.
And that's
But right
okay.
now.
And that's
our
okay.
income-
And I'm not saying our
Would you like me to get their
valuation-
tax returns for 2022? Would that help you?
Yes,
No, there you go.
would help us also.
I can tell you right now, it's severely negative, but we can get that for you.
Yes, no, that would be very good. The more information you provide, the better, and just give us a
You know, and again, I don't want to get contentious, but a licensed New York State real estate appraiser provided an appraisal to this bar.
Which we're
I
gonna-
just-
which we're gonna look at.
I just read you case law, but I'm talking about last year, and I don't know. You know, I foiled the resumes of everybody on this bar, okay, and I think that you're the only one that has the adequate valuation experience to just ignore a licensed New York State commercial real estate appraiser. The entire bar ignored it. How are you qualified to do that? Chuck, how are you qualified to do that?
we didn't have it.
It was, I
understand
provided
that.
it to you.
I understand that, but it was something that fell through the cracks, correct?
Between a flood and a personnel transition, I think assessment takes ownership of the fact that we failed to get it to the board.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's the explanation. We didn't
okay,
have.
you
it
have-
to
you
go
have an
with.
explanation.
But we do now.
Yeah, and it'd be nice if you took that in consideration, but also take into consideration that these people have been abused since 2017.
Well, again,
You can't go back on it legally, but look what's happened to them.
well.
They've been obliterated. Third highest assessed restaurant in this city, and they've been out of business since 2017. How can you do that to people?
Well, again, now, last year was the first time you came in, right?
Right, but
On this property here, I mean, you know, it's
Well,
up to the homeowner to. or the
they're
property
like
owner
Frank.
to-
They're not from Syracuse, and they weren't familiar with the process, or they would have done it long before. This process is nothing to you, but to other people, they're completely confused by it. And if they, especially when it's a commercial property, even if it's say a $40,000 property, if they can't get cooperation from the bar, they have to go to Supreme Court over a $40,000 property. You just can't treat people like, so what I ask of the assessor is that when we ask for some data, please give us the data. Don't make us go to Supreme Court to get data. That's not good customer service. Just give us the data so that you can have a productive hearing. Because if they don't give me the data, it basically demasculates this bar because it's pointless, especially with residential, because we'll just go to SCAR and bypass the whole thing.
Yeah, but that's, I understand what you're saying, but that's just not the procedure. You've got to bring your data, they give their data.
I want to compare apples and apples, because what happens is, he gives you his count, and what he did yesterday was he read off these addresses, and that's all you hear. Well, realistically, is this bar going to go back and read all of this stuff? Of course you're not going to read it.
We look at all the comps that we receive, and that brings me to my last point. I don't think I've ever done this, but I'm gonna do it with you. The last hearing, you didn't give us any information on those two properties.
I know, I did it on purpose.
Okay, I'm gonna give you till Friday if you wanna submit anything on those. And the reason why is because, again, the burden of proof is on you. We need your information and we need the city's information. You don't have to provide anything, but if you don't provide anything, we can't look at your side of the story.
Unless they give me the data, I can't give you anything.
Well, I don't understand what them giving you the data stops you from supplying data that we can look at with respect to
I want to compare
comparables.
apples and apples and work on the same data. It makes it easier on you. Apples and apples. The realtors.
You just don't do it that way. You got it. What you supply and what they supply, we look at everything and
This
then
is
we make a
public
decision.
information. They are required by law to provide it. They can delay me if they want to, but that makes them bypass you, and I have to take it to SCAR.
No, but let me just say one last thing. When they submit comps, if you want them, we give you those addresses.
Yeah, give me what they submitted to you, and then give me till Friday, and I'll have a proper response.
I don't think I have any problem with that. So, and you may and whatever, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put this to bed, this year. So I just don't, I think if we go that route, and I'll defer to John, but if we go that route, then, you know, there's no reason for foil this and foil that and blah, blah, blah.
Shouldn't have to foil it. They should just give it to me.
Well, again, though, normally it's done at the hearing. They give us the information. If the petitioner wants those addresses, I give them to them. I say, this was the addresses. that they
What I ask them to do is, if a client comes to me, and another thing that he said is that he sends postcards to neighborhoods to drum up business. That's not what I do. When I see an assessor who's not behaving properly, then I send postcards to the neighborhood. I don't do it to drum up business.
No, and
Just
we
to
don't,
correct what
and
it is
we
that he
don't
said.
care one way or the other.
Yeah. But so, a proper assessor,
I'm gonna give you the opportunity.
a proper assessor does mass assessment techniques, but when the taxpayer has a concern, whether it's the taxpayer or their legal representative has a concern, it's the job of the assessor to look into it in good faith. And
Well, that,
they have to have an opinion of value. It's their job is to have an opinion of value. If they agree, make an adjustment. If they disagree, politely point them to their appeal options, but give them the data that it's public information.
yeah, again, though.
It might not be the way you do it, but I have a right to do it that way.
Yeah, well, it's a procedural thing that we do as far as you come in, you present information, they present information, we take it all into consideration, deliberate, and then come up with a decision. So what I'm trying to say to you lastly, and then Ed, I'll give you a chance to say something if it's necessary, but you've given us no information on those two properties, and I don't want to no change those properties, because those homeowners, potentially, I've got nothing, you're not giving me anything to go on. So if I don't have anything to go on, I can't make a change, and those homeowners are not gonna be too happy, all right, with this respect to, there was virtually no discussion on those two properties. It was more about foiling and,
When the assessor refuses to provide the data, it creates an appearance of impropriety.
Well, again, that.
Why are they not providing the data? What are they hiding?
The
That's what
proceed-
people wonder.
the
What are
proceed-
they hiding?
Again, the procedure normally is that you present information, the assessor presents comps, and then if the petitioner wants them, I give you those addresses. So you would be provided the information at the hearing.
If they gave me the data, I don't bring cases that are frivolous. And so if they gave me the data, and they're right, I don't have to waste your time at bar. And we're done. We're
Was
done.
there an informal hearing set
That's
up?
what it's all
or,
about.
you know, because
These people didn't give me the time of day from day one. And so,
Mike, I resent that.
And
You,
last year,
Mike,
you didn't give me the
nope,
time of day,
you're
and I
through.
felt guilty.
Correct. We did give you the time of day. You stole so much time from professionals in my office. It is flat out unacceptable. We pissed away so much time on the telephone with you last year, this past year, and this month. You have stolen the time of every attorney on this floor. And you're very fortunate that everybody around here has the kindly disposition and has taken it so well.
last year we had one case, this year I have 5, next year I'll have, who knows?
all right.
I mean, I will keep at it until you start treating taxpayers properly. That's what this is about.
Okay,
Treat,
that's-
just respond to people and give them the public information they're entitled to. If not, we will, our first hearing we had today, wasn't that perfectly cordial?
Yes.
That's the way they all can go if you just give me the data that I am
still-
entitled to by law.
We're still, the thing is though, you gotta go within our procedures, which is come in, present your information, the city will present theirs, we will give you that data.
We're gonna keep
if
fighting
you
every
want
time.
it.
I am
We're not
entitled to
gonna
that data.
We're not gonna give you the data ahead of time.
The data is publicly available. It's available in books in the assessment office, and it's available on the city's
I
website.
want the reports. I want the cost report. I want the comparable sales report. So, and what I do is I'll have 5 comparable sales. I analyze those 5, and I don't make up my own 5. I use their 5, and I analyze them completely. And if they're correct, we're done. But if they're not correct, then that's what I show you. And I will make it very concise, so it'll be very easy for you guys. Otherwise, you have to analyze his, you have to analyze mine, and try to figure out the difference between the two. I want to talk about the same set of data. And I believe that I am entitled to by law.
All right, well,
My intention is not to waste all of your time, nor is it to waste my time. Believe me, I didn't want to spend my time doing what it is that I was doing. But
all right, so
I
let me,
insist. I
go ahead,
insist.
Ed, let me just have you say what you need to say, and then we'll wrap her up.
So, Mike offered you, you're talking about giving him an opportunity to present information after a case has been presented. He presented nothing. He actually told us he took somebody else's appraisal and dissected it and adjusted it to.
Are we talking about this case?
We're talking about a case that you were here on
Why
last
don't we talk
Friday.
about this case?
Well, right now, we will talk about this case. Let me finish. You're
Because
inter-
you've been doing this
you're-
for 40 years
Why
and
don't
everything.
you stop
All
inter-
right, yeah, let Ed.
let me talk.
Let Ed talk, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so,
Talk.
he told you he dissected somebody else's appraisal.
No,
That's
use
what he
the
wants
comps.
to
I use
do.
the- that's right.
That's what he wanted to do, he wants to do with our information. I can't speak for any other town, but as you know, I've been here for several years, not working for the city, but as a member of the board. And he's not offered you any sales of his own. He comes in and fights an assessment with zero evidence.
Yes.
Other than, it's not worth it. We can go back and forth all day long. I'm never gonna hand him my file before we sit down at this board. I refuse to
Yes,
do
no,
it.
that's our procedure, and we're not gonna go away from that.
From here and in, I would think that it's pretty inappropriate for somebody in the assessment department to tell a legal representative of a taxpayer that they don't know what they're doing. You think that's appropriate?
Well, I don't know,
Not
Department
done.
of State's watching.
Also, he says, I've forgotten more about assessment than you've ever known.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of things said on both sides that shouldn't have been said.
Your
But-
attorney referred to me as my man.
All right. No, that's all public record, and there's some things that shouldn't have been said on both sides, and,
I want it to be professional.
yeah, no,
And if
that's,
you just give me the data, we can compare apples and apples, and it'll be very simple. It'll be very simple, and everybody will be happy.
all right, well, we're not, again,
If he wants to
If
give me
you
the data, I'll
decide-
get to you an answer by Friday. If I have his data. If he doesn't give me the entire data, I won't respond, and we'll just take it to SCAR. But, you know, this board should have, you know, the power to do what it is they're doing. If they don't give me the data, we just have to go to SCAR, and I have no problem doing that.
yeah, again, normal.
But it's not appropriate.
The normal procedure is that you present yours, they present theirs,
Well,
we
who
give
defines
you
normal?
that.
Who defines normal? You
Well,
know?
it's the procedure we've been doing for the last 20 years since I've been here.
Well, I have a right to the public information, and I want, and if we have 5 comps, he argues there's 5 comps, I argue the same 5 comps, don't you think that'd be simpler? You don't think it'd be simpler?
You should do your own work.
Yeah,
Do
I
your
mean,
own work.
basically, again, it's
We
normal.
pay you to do
present-
that.
No, you're here representing somebody,
Yeah,
and you've
no,
come
really-
with nothing.
Really, you gotta bring your stuff, they
No.
bring theirs.
I will not, I
All
will
right.
not.
You
And
Then-
can't,
then-
why
Okay,
can't
that's
you,
fine.
then
We
we
gotta,
gotta,
You get
we
what you
gotta
get.
agree to disagree.
Your
I'm not gonna use Zillow, I'm not gonna use the
I'm asking you
MLS,
to.
you got a bunch of realtors who, you know, whatever.
You can find out where Saya lives independently,
I
but
wanna
you don't know what
compare
ImageMate
the
is?
same data. With Zillow, these people lie like a rug, they exaggerate the inventories left and right. I'm not gonna use that when I
Nobody
can use
mentioned
this.
Zillow.
The MLS though is, pretty reliable from a sale price standpoint and that kind of thing.
I don't
That's
need
what
them for
we
sales
always
price.
use.
I've got the sales web, the 5217s. I've got all of that. I don't, but I want what they're using for comps.
Well, we're gonna stay with the procedure that we've done, okay?
Well, when it comes to residential, it means, you know, for example, in the town of Manlius, I probably had 15 cases with them. I've always lost at bar, and I always wanted SCAR. So, you know, because their bar is ridiculous. It's all political cronyism. They don't even know what you're talking about. So I don't even go anymore. I just submit the submission, and then I beat them at SCAR. You know?
Well, all
Every
right.
time.
So we tried to resolve the other day and, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, if he can provide me the data, I will respond, and then, you know, that would, you know, give you an opportunity to do what the bar is supposed to do.
Okay.
And,
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
well, I appreciate the, you know, the improvement in all that transpired here.
We want you to feel,
Like I said, I'm a nice guy. Everybody laughed when I said it yesterday. I am a nice guy.
no
No,
problem.
but I do represent my clients, you know, aggressively, and it's my job to do that, so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in. We'll send 3 separate notices out first week of April. All right. Thank you. And so with that, I'll entertain a motion
No.
to.
Got some more to read in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we wanna read these in tomorrow or no? No? Okay.
No, because the letter that they had for it, so they wanna be able to watch the live stream, needs to be read in today.
Okay, Mike, thanks again.
Thank you. Cross report, comparable sales and inventory. That's all I need.
Okay. All right, so this is Nob Hill. Do you mind if I take that thing down?